And once I see myself, then I start. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Back. Work in progress with Jeff G. Guarino. That is me. And I will be alone today, which is fine. I'm used to being alone. But I'm going to give my thoughts on what I think is happening today and the future as I see it. If you're interested, continue. If not, well, go on. My thoughts have been about where the economy has led us today, and what I've learned in school about capitalism in general. It seems to me that we've come to a crossroads. We've gone to pretty lofty heights as far as business profits have gone. We've now had trillion-dollar companies. We've now had three of the richest men build rocket ships for themselves to go to space. And somehow that, for some, seems like it isn't enough. This is to the detriment of the vast majority of people. So you can't say that those who are wealthy or have wealth haven't done well. They've done exceedingly well, but seems at the expense of the great majority of others. And in these times, often, if you look through history, often is times of great unrest and racial divisions and all kinds of voting issues and things of this nature. It seems like the social ills increase when the money decreases. Somehow I think that's by design, but, whatever. It's a fear-based thinking that leads to very troubling ends. But as one who has lived half a century, I think I am qualified to speak on certain things, what I've seen. I grew up in the 70s, pretty much. I was born in the 60s, grew up in the 70s, and seen in the United States and seen great advances in things, great changes in the society in that 50-year span of time, which isn't really long. Went from not having cell phones to depending on cell phones. Went from not using to computers to everything being computerized. So we've seen great advances in technology, but not that much as far as our spiritual selves, as far as our ability to treat each other with respect and dignity. Always seems to be controversy for some. And it's usually the minority, but they seem to be so loud that it shifts the conversations sometimes. In history, I remember reading and studying on the Great Depression in school. It was a 10-year period, started in the late 20s. Part of it was due to massive speculation in the stock market, overvaluation of things, which seems to be the case in some ways now. And just read for a second. It was 1929. The stock market prices had reached levels that could not be justified by reasonable anticipation of future earnings. As a result, when a variety of minor events led to gradual price declines, in October 1929, investors lost confidence and the stock market bubble burst. Panic selling began on what was called Black Thursday. That was October 24th, 1929. We have wages that haven't increased for the average worker, and without those, but we've seen prices increase. And without money, people don't spend, and businesses will suffer, and businesses will find themselves with stock that they are not moving, which will lead to a decline in them purchasing durable goods. This is all history, it's all factual, and most people don't know. So when politicians lie about what's happening, they either believe them or they don't. But the majority seem to believe and keep putting these people back into power, when basically they're lying through their teeth and the facts do not bear out anything else but what we see and what we know. And in this day and age where we have social media that seems to, I don't know, justify everybody's reality, whether it be factual or not, we lose truth and we lose the ability to make great decisions. And in making decisions based on fear is not really the way to go. Remember, a U.S. president once said, all we have to fear is fear itself, because fear leads to irrationality. It's not a good way to make a good judgment call, although it seems to be prevalent in our society today. When politicians do not rise to a level of true statesmen, and all they spout is fear, then I would hesitate to follow such leadership. You must question that kind of leadership. People like to be comfortable. People on all levels like to be comfortable. Nobody likes to be uncomfortable. And unfortunately, for growth to happen, for change to happen, there has to be some discomfort. I would argue that the majority of people, 90% of the population on this planet, are not very comfortable, stressed about the future, their wages, their ability to provide for themselves, what will happen if they become ill, will anybody be there to take care of them? These are human issues, and we all don't live forever. So, that being a fact, why is it that infinite amounts of wealth are hoarded by a few? You can't take it with you. There are no moving vans in the funeral procession. So, the insanity of accumulating so much to where you have the ability to feed and clothe yourself and house yourself, and even beyond that, maybe 10 times, 100 times, but we're talking 1,000-fold over that. When do we as human beings get our mind together and realize that for finite beings that don't live forever, it would be better for a good majority of this planet to live with dignity, if not all. And it is possible for all. World has plenty. There's plenty. But we agree to participating or not participating. So basically, what I was thinking is the economy, a lot of uncertainty going on. And the things that most people rely on, you can't really rely on anymore. The news, for instance, is owned by those who seem to think that the accumulation of wealth is their only reason for being, and only false gestures of charity that really aren't even, if you look into them, some of them are not even really that charitable, have led to vast inequalities within wealth. This is not about, people get all messed up about redistribution of wealth. These people are foolish, in my opinion, because there has been a redistribution of wealth. Just look at any metric, any economic metric, and you will see the redistribution of wealth has gone to a small population, and the majority is subsisting on crumbs. if you have a business and you are a business owner and you don't understand that when people have money, they spend it, and that helps your business, that no matter what you believe, you may think that I'm full of BS. I don't really care because it's going to play out in it anyway. No one never ever has to be afraid of the facts and truth. Truth is on its own, so I have no fear. You have emotions that you play on, that people play on. The fear of the other. People throw words, like words are supposed to scare you. Socialism and communism and all this stuff. You know, you know, when I grew up, I read about great statesmen, politicians, and Jefferson, Lincoln. Um, the doctrines that built the nation in which I was born. People had pretty lofty, interesting takes on freedom and what it is to live in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A great book to read would be by economist Milton Friedman and Anna J. Swartz, called A Classic Study of Modern History of the United States, 1867 to 1960. The thing about the Great Depression was that it was when the dollar was based on the gold standard, which means there was money behind every dollar you had. The Federal Reserve had that money backed in gold. The Federal Reserve does not have the gold standard now. That ended during, I believe, the Kennedy administration or before that, but Kennedy was trying to get back on the gold standard. Gaddafi actually wanted to get his country's money based back on the gold standard. His did not end well. The United States creates money, and I was surprised to learn, I think my senior year in high school, that the dollar wasn't really worth what we thought it was. It's a note. It's literally a federal note, a promissory note, an IOU. But the world pretty much is based on that. Scary thing. But we as people have to decide what we want and what we value, and we have to be strong enough to stand up for those things. I think life is but a test. I'm a religious person. I believe that energy cannot be destroyed. So I believe there is something after we do move on. And I think the more positive you are, the more positive an experience that will be. I have talked to people who have been in who've been in war and have seen war and have had to leave their home countries, and great stress in their lives due to the games of those who are in power. There are real people, real lives at stake. And we as a people, we listen or we tune out. And sometimes when we're comfortable, it's really easy to tune out. We all are very, in the Western half of the world, generally comfortable. However, there are stresses that come along, have come along. The solution to all this, I believe, is just simply getting back on track to what is true and what we value, what we say we value. Problems only come when we say one thing and do another. Here in this country, when I came to this country, speaking as a American citizen, I was happy that I was going to a Western country. I didn't even think about it that much, but the values seemed to be similar, expressed. There was a base here, so Americans don't have a base anywhere where it's not friendly to them, I guess. So I didn't have to worry about that. It wasn't that much stress for me. For someone coming from a different background, different country, where such freedoms aren't allowed, I suppose it would be a different journey. But what I'm seeing is a lot of what Western countries deride dictators and fascist countries that are just openly dictator and fascist, what they deride them for is the lack of freedom of their people. In the United States, we've seen, or if you look at the news, you will see an effort to curb those freedoms, to limit speech, to come up with words to discourage dissent. There's a certain insanity, and I'm just going to call it insane. I don't know how else you can call it when, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Congresswoman Boebert talk about Jewish space lasers and, false flag events, like the shooting in Sandy Hook, excuse me. These are supposed to be serious people. These people were elected, which means they're not alone. And there's a great troubling mental health issue in the States, in my opinion. But it also seems to be within the world. People are, it's controversial to say the most obvious things. Like people should have the right to do with their bodies what they will. We've seen the overturn of Roe versus Wade, which, listen, if abortion's not your thing, then don't do it. Liberty has a strange meaning these days to some people, for some people. My own experience, I've grown up around immigrants, people who've owned businesses, who've come to the States, and I've learned a lot from these people from their different backgrounds. One thing I've learned from people I've met from South Korea, Vietnam, the Philippines, from Sweden, from Poland, France, Germany, Ireland, they all love family. They all appreciate hard work. Nobody wants to be given anything. It's not natural. People want to contribute. People want to feel like they contribute. And in this country, I don't know if that's understood. Language barriers have gone up, where become an issue. Where in majority of cases it really isn't an issue. We should embrace the fact that we can understand each other. If I know 2 languages, then God bless for knowing 2 languages. I have another way to communicate with a human being. That should be a positive. That should not be a negative. That should not be discouraged. One cannot learn a language if one is not included in the culture of that language. One cannot assimilate if one is ostracized because of one's inability to fluently speak a language. Coming from the United States, I'm talking from experience. Many Spanish-speaking people I've met in my lifetime, I didn't perfectly understand, but we worked together and we did well and learned from each other. And that's what life is. That's what it should be. To grow is not easy. And to become more than what you were takes work. And it's lazy to put up barriers and roadblocks so that you don't have to. And I think that's gone on in this country. And it's a shame because the majority of people in this country are good, hardworking, decent people. They just want to have a good time. They want to spend time with their family, which is important. And we should hold that for everyone. Those who work these low-level jobs that we seem to look through, that we don't see, that we don't pay attention to, we don't talk to. I'm not talking about me. You know, I've been on the receiving end of that too many times to where I've been either invisible or too visible. Yeah, that's strange. You know, either I'm completely invisible, literally, or too visible. I don't know how you exist like that. I don't know how one is supposed to exist like that. And how is one supposed to handle that? I'm human just as anyone else, bleed just like everyone else. And the immigrants that come to this country, some looking for help, some fleeing persecution. If somebody comes to me in desperate need of help, if I can do something, I will. Most good people do. That's been my experience. I'm fortunate to know a lot of really good people. In this country, I wouldn't have made it as far as I've have without the help of Icelanders, my Icelandic family and friends, and some employers who encouraged me to continue to study and encouraged me to get out and participate, not be afraid and not sit in a corner. These people have helped me to grow, become a better person in the way I think, and not as judgmental. But I've also had the opposite. People have told me, "Why are you here?" And we don't want you here. Strange for me, being an American, to hear that. Because most of my life, again, I told you I lived half a century. I've been at home. And even in the States, there are times where I didn't feel at home. There are places you go, there are places you don't go. It's interesting that that's the case for a country that espouses freedom and liberty. So we must question those things. I don't know how you get away with not. I don't know how come silence has become acceptable. Again, just such a short time on this planet we all have. When we're young, we think we have all the time in the world, and then it hits you over the head like a frying pan that a lot of time has gone by. And again, like I said, I grew up in a time of no cell phones, no computers. People talk to each other more. The news was a trusted thing. It wasn't like you didn't hear things like fake news as a mainstream source of news. Those things were bought. Those things were bought. We became very cynical because a price got put on everything. The value that most expounded to was money. And, you know, because you had a college degree or had a certain level in your bank account somehow made you worth more as a human being. Well, judging by the level of the Congress people we have in the United States, that certainly isn't the case. Money doesn't buy you humanity. A degree doesn't buy you common sense. It is by the content of your character you should be judged. If people put value on you due to your wealth, something that is intangible, really, in a way, what a very sad thing. What good does it do to gain the world and lose your soul? It seems like a few have gained the world They have the world at their fingertips. And yet, the world in which they have is one full of death, poverty, strife, and just a lot of negativity. So, the economics of today. I don't see where people have had enough. I don't see where people really understand the depths of the situation humanity is in. We question the very things we talked about being proud of, freedom and liberty, and the ability for people to make something of themselves, to where we've demonized those who ask for a fair wage. We demonize those who ask to be heard. We demonize those who have a different view from ourselves. And listening has become a dirty word. This is what I see. It's sad. I have kids. I have children, and I wished for a better world that they are slowly seeing is not rose-colored at all. Which is fine, because you need that strength. You need to build that strength. You need to be able to fight for those things that are right. Again, most women who have borne children know that through great pain sometimes comes a great joy, and that a little suffering for a time can produce wonderful things within one's soul. One of the reasons I think we should have more women, different points of view, and positions of power, because could use a change, I think. Could use a change. So the solution to all these woes in life, don't be fooled by when fingers are pointed to people, other people, the other, especially the other. Whenever someone's pointing the finger, ask them, what have you done? See what their response is, and that'll tell you where they are, whether it's true or false, whether they believe what they're saying or they don't. And question the things that are taken for true. And look a little deeper, just right under the surface. Usually the answer lies just a little bit under the surface. Again, I think it is in a terrible time that we live. There's threats of wars. There's economic uncertainty. There's a lot of strife, a lot of division. Although I've read history, and it seems to be the way. It seems to be that up and down, the tide in, tide out kind of thing that happens. But usually afterwards comes some clarity. I just hope we get some clarity before the world burns. I believe that that's possible when enough good people of conscience wake up and don't go along to get along. Really, that comes to bite you in the butt. If you know something evil is happening, you know something not right is going on, and you take no action to speak out, to help out, and you think it won't touch you, it always touches you. It always comes back in some way, maybe even a way you might not even anticipated. It's not good to have people feel like there's no hope. When there's no hope, then all things are on the table. I don't think we've gotten to that point, and I don't think I'm hoping we won't. I think the younger generation has so much at their fingertips, so much information at their fingertips. Everything I've said they can look into. They can know the truth for themselves. For the young people, don't listen to what anyone tells you. Learn for yourself. For the people who are my age, if you are in a great position, good for you. But remember, it was said that we are the ghost of our children's future. So let's not haunt them in a bad way. So on a positive note, I believe that things can change. Things can turn around. When enough people wake up and decide for themselves that the way to go is truth. And what is truth? Truth is it's something that cannot be argued with, really. Um, it stands as it is. It stands for what it is. So we have issues, but we are not so far down the road that we can't turn around. I think in this country, it's such a small population. I think this country owes a lot to its immigrant population. If you didn't see that during COVID, if you haven't seen that in the people you start seeing at the hospital, then you're not paying attention. And I think a little more appreciation would be due to those who are from other places. It's that way in almost every country. They are the foundation in which a lot is built. And treating those fairly only produces a positive outcome for everyone. When people are paid fairly, that money gets spread and things grow. But when people are starved, people are cheated, resentment grows. And it's just not a good place to be. So I'm not really an optimistic person. No, I know it's hard to believe. I'm really a pessimist, but I just know a lot of good people. I've been given a lot of I've been given opportunity by many people. In this country, I talk with the older generation, and my God, I talk about me being 50 or over 50 and what I've seen, and I talk to older generations in this country, and my God, the changes in Iceland, like wow, like man. And Iceland is relatively a new country in the grand scheme of things. But I think what it is to be Icelandic is to be fair, hardworking, to have a love of family, and to appreciate those who can help you, those who you may need to help you. This is a tough landscape, tough land. Can't survive on your own. You need help. You need your neighbors sometimes. And they need you, and vice versa. It's the way it should be, the way it is. And so what it is to be Icelandic is to be one who is realistic and get it, just get it done. Just get it done. You know the right thing to do. Just get it done. Þetta réttist. Bara áfram Ísland. This can be an example of how a country should work. Not for the few, but for all. And there's not a lot of us. So it shouldn't be that hard. And it isn't that hard. I come from a country of 300 million plus. This is over 300,000. And there's a lot of connection. I'm amazed at the connections I see from the people I know, people I meet. Oh yeah, that's my cousin. Oh yeah, that's my brother. Yeah, that's my brother's cousin. Yeah, that's my brother's cousin's nephew. When it's that close, why are some struggling? Why is there no charity? Why is everybody cold-hearted? Is that the life you want to live? Is that what you want to leave to your children? Is that the identity you want to have? I don't think it is. And I don't think that is true for the soul of this country. I think the future of this country is in the hands of the people that have carved their life and deserve peace and deserve good things for the investments they've made. People say, why don't you go back to where you came from? Give me back everything I put in. For the immigrants that are here, they put in a lot, sacrifice time with their families, blood, sweat, and tears. So don't let that slip out of your mouth. And for those that you hear say something like that, question them. What have you given? So that is my preaching. I don't really care if you hear it or not, because like I said, the truth just speaks for itself. It will damn you or praise you, and it's up to us all which way that goes. We do have information at our hands. This is a time of great innovation, technology. I got translation apps that just keep getting better and better. They have a thing you can put in your ear where you can talk to people from different countries. There's no excuse for not understanding someone. We're not in the days of ships where it takes months to get somewhere. Information is instantaneous. So, the excuses don't really add up to me. It's just a lack of wanting to try or wanting to talk about being lazy. Don't let that be. Yeah, turn that around on some of the people who like to use that on people who are the hardest working. So, the Great Depression happened. That's history. We see some of the same things taking place in our world today. Great disparities in wealth, crumbling infrastructure, people struggling, people not having enough. And when that happens, I don't know about you, but from what I learned about capitalism and economics, well, if people don't have enough to buy, businesses don't have the ability to grow or to sustain themselves, which leads to more worsening outcomes, depressions, economic downturn. So there's no argument to not make people's wages fair. It's imbalanced. It's just imbalanced. And if it goes the other way, you will see a change. You will see prosperity grow again. Otherwise, if greed becomes the motto of the day, it will get worse for everyone. You think you have money and you're going to go out to eat? Well, if you're going out to eat, you better go out to eat every day of the week for that restaurant to survive. If you got a hotel, well, you better hope that, enough foreigners have enough money to keep those things open. You won't be able to keep those rooms clean. Everything is connected. We are all connected. I don't know how that's missed. You don't just do things and it doesn't affect something else. Okay, so again, that's kind of where I see it. But I see the opportunity for change. I just don't see it happening fast enough. I see pockets. And hopefully those who are comfortable will listen to those who are uncomfortable. For those who are out here trying to make change, who are talking about the changes that need to be made in the society before it gets too late, hopefully their voices are heard. And privatization is not for every sector within business. The hospitals should not be privatized. You don't make money off of sick people. Food, there's a profit thing for that, but the inspection of food should not be a privately done, as we see in the United States, or at least pushing that way. War should not be in the hands of companies. Companies have done really well, so now that time should be done. You can't argue. I don't even know how you could argue. The trillion-dollar companies, billions in profits, I really don't get it. Historic profits made, even during people being locked down during COVID. Historic profits being made. Bank historic profits. Now, the pendulum's got to swing. The pendulum's got to swing. I don't care if you believe me or not. I mean, the truth, again, will be evident in the outcomes. I just hope it doesn't take a catastrophe for that to happen. In the 30s, the United States came out of the Great Depression into the beginnings and the noise of WW2, the beginnings of that. And that really kicked off the engine of the United States economy, which was on the upswing before WW2, but really took off. And we still have this war in Ukraine. Craziness going on. North Korea is sending, doing its missile thing again. So could we take care of each other here in the West, at least while the world is burning half of it? Could we take care of our citizens that are trying to stabilize and have a solid footing to do the big things? I think it's possible. I think it's possible. So we know the history, and those who are smart enough to read it and understand it, they also know the history. But do you have the courage to make the change? Do you have the courage to be uncomfortable, to question? Because there's many who are uncomfortable as it is now. There's always cutbacks. Cutbacks on the lowest, and tax breaks for those who don't need it. So I think we've cut pretty much the bone for the average person. Working families, 2 parents working. We value family, but we work to death the mother and father. We don't give them any break. They got to have a place to put their kids during the day, and the teachers are overworked. The nurses are stressed. These are the people who take care of us. These are the people who are the foundations of our nation, of any nation. They should be revered and looked after, and we should make sure that they are taken care of. But we cut. I worked in the food service, and I'm going to wrap it up, but there's always a thought to never be rude to those who serve you food. But people continue to be rude. Not the smartest thing in the book. There are so many good people in this country. Nurses, I know, and people who work in the food industry, quality people. Always making do with less. Not everybody can work in a bank. Not everybody can go be CEO of something. It's not how the world works. People say, "Oh, well, if you don't like your job, leave it." Listen, everybody has to do something, and every job has a place and a value. It's the lazy people who say things like that. The lazy people who don't understand. Those who are uninformed and ignorant of a society. So we are all connected. So let's listen to each other. Those who have and those who have not. Let's listen to each other and understand that history has shown us paths in which we can go. And hopefully we can just go in a direction where history doesn't repeat itself. Like an evolution of humanity. And the next step, we've come so far technology-wise, but in treating each other decently, man, do we keep stumbling over that. And I don't think it's the majority of us either. I think it's a few that infect the others. So with that, I'm going to end and say good night and good luck.